What is up, Earthnoids and Spacenoids? I am just a simple new type, and in this episode we are returning to the Federation JAG as we continue Advanced of Zeta. Last time, Comrade went to the lower levels of Von Braun to find Audrey April. She wants to help with his case. In the past, Elliard and the Titans test team had their mobile suits destroyed. This time, Comrade brings Audrey and Hendrik to Earth. Someone tries to kill him, and in the past, Elliard will pilot the Kihar. So let's get into this. While talking to Audrey, they hear a noise outside, followed by a knock at the door. Joanna has her gun pointed and ready to go. She opens it to find that it is King George. They first think that he is one of the people who is tailing her, but it isn't the case. They let him in, and Joanna pats him down to make sure he isn't carrying. He wonders why he is telling her, but he says that he can know where anyone is in the depths of Von Braun with just one phone call. He also says he wouldn't trouble himself with anything EFF. He just wants to know what's going on in his neighborhood. There is a confrontational back and forth between King George and Conrad before Audrey breaks the tension between the two. She says that he is just looking out for the town. He isn't sure if he could trust him still, but he also seems like a valuable source of data. He lets King George know about Elliard's trial and how EFF is trying to bury this new Gundam. He was once a soldier, a part of the supply corps. He once yearned to be a mobile suit pilot, but when that never happened, he left the military. He says he is an ally of Hendrik and Audrey, and he could help find her other comrades. Conrad wasn't expecting him to be willing to help in this capacity. He unfortunately can't wait around and has to return to Earth, but they will be in contact if they hear anything regarding the whereabouts of Murphy and Carl. He wonders how he is going to get Audrey off the moon. Conrad says with the power of a subpoena. October UC 0085. The Zanzibar is in the L3 orbit near Solomon. Zola refers to it as Solomon even though it is now Kompe Island. He looks up at the three mobile suits. One thing I never mentioned is that the Rikdom, Zaku, and Gelgoog all use the Stetzer loadout. The Stetzer loadout is designed to take on Titan's high-end mobile suits. Zeon remnants had minimal resources, so they have been heavily modified. The Gelgoog has an enhanced winch used for defensive purposes. The head has a wire cutter, and the back has been replaced with extra propellants. The Rikdom and Zaku also have the winch unit and extra thrusters, but the Zaku uses a modified Gelgoog beam rifle. It gets supplies from sympathizers in the colony, but that has its limits. He received intel that the Titans has a new frontline base at Side 7 that they refer to as Grips. The Earth Orbital Fleet and Luna 2 Fleet are sufficient. The only reason for them to create Grips is because they are going to be advancing on Spacenoids. He wonders why the Federation allows this from the Titans. They have become nothing more than an escort service, while the Titans handles most of the Federation business now. He talks to his comrade Larson, who he has been fighting with for some time now. He says that it looks like Axis is in their future. Zola and Larson get into their mobile suits. The pilot of the Zaku is named Shorter. They take off and are instantly met with an Alexandria-class ship, 2 mobile suits, and 1 unidentified mobile armor. Elliard is holding on to the Kihar in mobile armor form. He is in Hazel 2 and starting to get the hang of the Gundam. Elliard gets in close and shoots the Zaku at point-blank range. The thrusters of the Kihar are throwing off Murphy, and he transforms into mobile suit form. He moves in on the Gelgoog and the Zaku. He crashes into the Gelgoog. It destroys the Kihar's thrusters, but also takes out the Gelgoog's head. The Zaku and Gelgoog are out. They close in on the Rikdom. Wes Murphy and Zola tell each other their names over the comms, before Zola rushes back to the Zanzibar. Did they just let Zola flee? They pretty much had him surrounded. Confusing. The Titans test team heads back to the Aswan, where Captain Otto Peterson takes Murphy off the Kihar. They still need to test atmospheric re-entry on the Kihar, but repairs on his Gundam are complete. This is now the Hazel Custom. The RX-121-1 Gundam TR-1 Hazel Custom is the repaired version of Murphy's Hazel, with added battle data from the Titans test team. Everything in the Hazel was an afterthought as it was built on top of the Jim Quell. This makes the unit more balanced and more in line with the original specs. This is the first unit to have the 360 panoramic monitor, and it also retains the movable booster pod and sub-arm. Other weapons include a beam saber, Vulcans, the XBR M84A beam rifle, and the long blade rifle. This unit also has a sniper unit and a sub-arm unit, which we will talk about at another time. Elliard launches in Hazel 2, Murphy in Hazel Custom, and Carl in the Gem Sniper 3. The two ask Murphy how is the new unit. He is struggling to get used to the panoramic monitor with linear cockpit. He notes that this is the first unit to have this panoramic cockpit layout. When they get back from their test, Audrey asks Murphy a bunch of questions. She says with this test data, he will help usher in the next generation of mobile suit cockpits. This is before the Rick Diaz and the Hyzak, which has this as a standard few years later. June UC 0088. Conrad is trying to get Audrey and Hendrik to Earth, but they aren't allowed on the shuttle as Federation soldiers are claiming he can't bring civilians on a military shuttle, even though he has a subpoena. Joanna mentions they are probably going to miss their flight. They're trying to run out the clock. They can't officially stop them, but they can make them jump through hoops until they miss their court date. The fact that the Federation is already onto them is making them tense. He grows tired and goes up to their commander, who is a lieutenant. He tells him that he is violating many Federation laws by holding them, and he can have them court-martialed. This strong-arm move doesn't always work, but in this case, it does. The lieutenant panics and allows them to board the shuttle. On board, Conrad and Joanna make a list of journalists they could trust to get the word out there. If he leaks intel, the Federation will most certainly execute him, but he is ready for that burden. He also believes that the Federation is being backed into a corner. He says that the Federation must drain the swamp. Interesting choice of words on the translation. He heads back to the Bureau where he is called into Commodore Southwell's office. He asks what he is doing. His job is just to get Elliard a better plea bargain, but Conrad said he is simply doing the best he can for his client. The Commodore tells him to tread lightly and that he can't help him if things go south. This gives Conrad more confidence that they are backing EFF into a corner. Conrad takes Audrey and Hendrik to his home in Carson City. They spent hours recording their testimony. At midnight, everyone goes to bed. Conrad wakes up and hears a noise. He takes off the safety on his gun and heads into the living room where he sees a shadow. Someone fires on Conrad. He ducks behind the sofa and returns fire. There is a second intruder who begins firing as well. Conrad shoots again, causing them to flee. He only had 2 shots left. Both shooters shot twice. These shooters are coordinated and trained, most likely soldiers. He goes to check on Audrey and Hendrik, who is okay. The MPs are on their way. It is clear the Federation is making moves to prevent this case from winning. They have to go on the offensive. UC 0085. The Titan's test team is moving into low Earth orbit. Elliard is in the Kihar. The RX-044 prototype Ashimar TR-3 Kihar is a variant of Ashimar. Last time, we talked about how the Federation tests in space before moving into testing in Earth's atmosphere. Now that their space testing is done, the Titan's test team now moves on to Earth testing. The 2 thermonuclear engines in the legs serve as Kihar's main propulsions. Weapons include a spread beam gun and a beam rifle similar to the Dom's beam rifle. 23 minutes until they rendezvous with the shuttle. Everyone gazes at the blue oceans as they break through the atmosphere. They eventually make contact with the shuttle, but they also come into contact with a debris cluster. Carl begins vaporizing the debris. A giant debris cluster comes barreling towards them, destroying their shields. The Kihar has minor damage, but they're able to make it to the shuttle. They note that one piece of the debris looked like a chunk of a Gelgoog from the 1-year war, and even now, traces of the war are trying to kill them. They get into the shuttle and descend to Earth. July UC 0088. Elliard is taken to the site of his hearing. Remember, Conrad said he would see him in a few days, and then got an extension on his court date. So Elliard was left in the dark for the past 2 weeks. He enters the court where he meets Conrad. He is relieved, but wonders why it has been so long. Conrad tells him he went to the moon. Captain Gordon begins and glares at Elliard. Conrad tells him to glare back and show confidence. They both straighten their backs as Gordon brings forth the first piece of evidence. Exhibit A is the battle logs from Elliard's Gym Type C high mobility type. It shows that he sortied from the moon heading to Side 1. He then has logs that shows that he sortied again around Compe Island. Conrad objects and asks that he points out some relationship between the logs and the Colony 30 incident. Gordon then shows a testimony from a former Titans transport crew member that shows they were carrying G3 gas. The timestamps for Elliard's second sortie matches closely with the Colony 30 incident. The second sortie also is highly suspicious at this time of operation. The Commodore asks Conrad if there's anything he wants to add. He says that all evidence must be given to the council beforehand, and because of this, the evidence shouldn't be admissible. He asks a question to the officers of the tribunal. If you were given orders, what would you do? Most certainly, you would follow those orders. Elliard was simply doing what any soldier would do in a situation. Gordon then then begins questioning Elliot. He gives his answers as he remembers, but even he was vague on certain things. Anytime he was vague, Gordon would come down on him hard trying to find something to work with. He tells him that he couldn't confirm coordinates as it was a visual battle and Minovsky particles and whatnot. He mentions that he is trying to hide that Zeon remnants were at Side 1. Conrad objects, saying Gordon is speculating, but the Commodore overrules it. This happens a couple of times. Conrad then questions Elliot and asks similar questions to Gordon, but reframes it to show that he had no idea of the orders that were being carried out. Later, Conrad calls a witness. Elliot turns around to find that it is Audrey April. And that will do it for this episode. Things are finally getting a few good men up in here. The Federation is trying to stop this trial from going in Conrad's favor. The question is whether or not this is all for nothing. Next time, the Titans test team heads to Africa, where they continue testing the Keyheart. They will take on some goof flight types. And in the present, Conrad will question Audrey. But that will do it for now, new types. Remember, if you are going against the system, sleep with one eye open. Peace.